Welcome to 13 Degrees of Screams.
Where we scream so you don't scream.
We're your host, Alex.
And Stephanie.
This week, we live with our extremely wealthy friend in Saltburn. Saltburn is a 2023 black comedy psychological thriller film written, directed, and co-produced by Emerald Fennell. Set in Oxford and Northamptonshire, it focuses on a student at Oxford who becomes fixated with a popular, aristocratic fellow student who later invites him to spend the summer at his eccentric family's estate. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 71% with a critic's consensus that states, Emerald Fennell's candy-coated and incisive Saltburn is a debauched jolt to the senses that will be invigorating for most. It has an 80% audience score that says, Saltburn is really intense and the cast does a terrific job, but if you're easily grossed out or offended, this probably isn't the movie for you.
Yeah, a lot of people talked about that.
Stephanie, is this the first time you saw this movie?
I saw a lot of people reacting to it online so I kind of knew what it was going to be about and like the infamous scenes, the drain thing and stuff like that. Yeah, delicious.
A little drinky.
Just a little sip.
I'm
just a little
parched.
drinky for me.
Yeah. Good times.
Mm-hmm. Granted, after seeing Terrifier with you right before, it was like nothing for me. I was like, oh, yeah, look at him. Look at him doing that.
That's fair. Did you like the movie?
Yeah, I actually did. I liked it a lot, actually.
A lot? Wow.
I like these. It's funny, too, because the mom is the girl from Gone Girl. I like these like psychological thrillers where you don't really know like what or what the main character's whole ploy is and stuff like that until you get to the end and you're like, wow.
Wow.
They are a mess.
The main character's a mess or the family? Okay.
Oh, well, everyone is, yeah, but
he is a very meticulous mess, though. So,
yeah.
Just saying.
And what did you think about it going in? Did you go in blind? Like, did you have any idea what this was about?
Yeah, I knew about the scenes, and so I think we watch very similar like YouTube videos on stuff sometimes. I was very interested in seeing the movie, and I think it was overall interesting. I feel like the end, I don't want to say too much until we talk about the plot, but I feel like the end, they try to do this big reveal, but I'm like, yeah, I kind of figured that's what was going on.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't surprised. I'm like, yeah, was that not obvious?
That not clear?
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was because I had already known so much about it from what was going on online that you kind of like put the pieces together, and maybe it was just kind of like spoiled for us in that sense that we already had that idea.
But so let me rephrase that. I only knew of like specific scenes, like the bathtub scene, the vampire scene, but I didn't know like the story or context of any of it. So like I didn't know that, but I just felt like at some point you're like, because of how our main character starts acting, you're like, oh yeah, he's
like, the one doing this. Yeah.
Do you not see completely changed personality between scenes? Like he's definitely doing something.
Yeah.
Like
he definitely wears a lot of hats. Like he starts off really nerdy looking and very shy, and then all of a sudden he's kind of dresses very differently once he gets the Saltburn and wants to make it his own.
Yeah, because I watched it with Nick, and at one point it was like the first scene he was acting like completely off. He's like, what's going on? It was very jarring. Just like, I don't know if they meant for it to be a little bit more slow or gradual, his change in demeanor, but I don't know. It felt like flip of a dime. He was like completely different.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the ending reveal scenes were kind of unnecessary, but I think it's at least a very interesting film, and the family is something else.
Yeah, I almost think it might have been more interesting if they would have just left it ambiguous at the end and just been like, yeah, he did it, but it's just between him, like him not like gloating about it basically in the end.
Yeah. I don't know, but I liked it. I think I liked it overall.
Yeah, interesting. Are you ready to get into the plot?
Yes, I am.
In 2006, outcast Oliver Quick attends Oxford on scholarship and has a hard time making friends with the upper-class students. Immediately, he is infatuated with the popular and wealthy Felix Catton, lending him a bike when Felix gets a flat, therefore ingratiating himself into Felix's life. However, their friendship quickly fizzles out as Felix seems to grow bored of Oliver's company and realizes that his other friends don't really like Oliver. Like, he tries to kind of integrate him into his social situation, but like Oliver overhears him talking about inviting him to a party with a friend. Felix is talking about this with another friend. They're talking about like seating so-and-so next to Oliver or something like that. And she's like, I can't just sit him next to Oliver. He sucks. Like,
he's literally the worst.
No
we
one
hate
likes
him.
Like, and then all of a sudden Felix is kind of like not as interested in being friends, it seems.
I mean, honestly though, I too would be like, you know what? Never mind. Like, that's fine that Felix likes me, but if he's around all these other people who don't like me, like, why would I want to be around them?
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I'm like, you know what? It's good. I don't need this in my life.
Yeah, but that's not how he takes it. He's like,
not at all.
Shit. This will not do.
Yeah. No, I was going to ask you a question, but I'm going to wait again till the end. You'll probably ask me what the question is at some point.
Ask you what the question is.
Yeah, you did it last episode. You're like,
oh, okay, fair enough. I will say though, this is definitely like a background minor character, but Oliver's weird roommate person, the one that's like obsessed with math.
Oh yeah.
I was like, he's creepy. He's he's like our little red herring to make Oliver seem not as crazy, I think.
Yeah, that's like his only function, because he doesn't. I'm like, you could cut this character out completely. I don't see the
I think
point.
he's just there to make Oliver look more normal. Because
okay.
like Oliver is kind of like forced to talk to this kid that's like obsessed with mathematics.
Ask me some. Nah, you're okay. Come on. It's not like I don't believe you. Please. Come on. No, I believe. Fucking ask me some then! 423 times 78.
32,994.
Yeah, it's just weird. So I was like, okay, yeah, I guess he's just there to make him look more normal.
I guess. I have no idea.
But I don't feel bad for him either when Oliver abandons him to go and be with Felix either. That's the funny thing too. Like, I'm just like, oh, well, he's kind of weird. I'd probably do the same.
Stephanie, that's not nice. I felt the same way though. So
we're terrible people. Okay.
I mean, just
as long as we're together.
We're in agreement that we're terrible.
Yeah.
Look, I wouldn't like be mean to him, but I wouldn't outwardly
try to keep socializing with him. Yeah.
I don't think we'd gel very well.
No. So suddenly Oliver's father passes from an overdose and he goes to Felix for comfort, confessing that his mother was also a user and he's not sure where to go for the summer. So Felix feels bad for him and invites him to his family's estate, Saltburn, for the summer. They also do this cute little thing that Felix tries to tell him about. It's like a family tradition where they write the person that's passed name on a stone and toss it into a river or body of water. And funny thing with that's a little foreshadowing, is that when Oliver tosses his dad's name into the river, it bounces off something and like lands in a pile of trash, not in the water at all. Yeah, and you're like, oh,
what could that mean?
He says like, that can't be good or something.
Yeah, it was actually kind of funny.
Yeah, there's a few moments where you're like, oh, funny, silly times.
Well, this movie is considered a black comedy, but I didn't laugh a ton. It was more like amusing little quips between the characters.
Gotcha. At Saltburn, Oliver meets Felix's parents, Sir James and Lady Elspeth, his sister Venetia, and Elspeth's friend Pamela, and he reunites with Felix's American cousin and fellow Oxford classmate Farley. At breakfast, like right after, they make this whole doppelgänger reference where Venetia tells the story of Percy B. Shelley, this poet that saw their own doppelganger and right before they drowned. So it's like a prediction thing, like that if you see your own doppelganger, at least in their world, that you're gonna die. And guess what we see behind them while they're having breakfast?
Felix's doppelganger.
just walking by in the same shirt too, like not even trying to hide it.
Yeah, but Felix doesn't see him, so I'm like, does that count?
Yeah.
Well, spoiler, but it's so weird because like at this moment, because there's also a lot of mirror imagery in this movie. Like I was convinced there was like supernatural things going on.
Yeah.
But because this definitely like one of those things, like if you're not paying attention, you will miss it. So it's not like important for you to actually make sure that you see that. But I was like, does this have like supernatural elements going into this movie?
I think it's weird in that sense. I mean, not in like a bad way. I think it's one of those movies that you could watch again and get like a lot of tiny details too, like especially later on when there's that party scene, like there's a lot of like minotaur references and stuff, like with the statue and everyone's wearing like horns and masks and stuff to look like animals and stuff. So there's just like a lot of symbolism you could draw out, I think, if you had time to look up everything to what does all this mean?
Because it's like it's definitely like him or someone that looks like him, but it was just weird timing. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
But you see the doppelganger.
There is one quote too the butler makes that like people often get lost in Saltburn. So I feel like that could also give it like imply that there's some sort of supernatural element as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there was, but they don't. I thought maybe in the like towards the end it would be more, if there is, more clear, but it's not quite spelled out or anything. So
no, just enough to be like, I wonder.
I have a thought, but I'm not sure.
Yes. We learn that the family loves to gossip about each other, especially Elspeth, and soon edges out family friend Pamela as they grow tired of her being there, despite her long history of being with abusive men. And I don't include this later, but she does die like shortly after. Like she just couldn't be on her own kind of thing.
She just gave up as soon as she was released. She was like, I don't know what to do.
That's kind of what it seems like. Anyone that kind of like comes into contact with this family is like, I need to be here or nowhere else.
I don't know. Maybe like once you're at Saltburn and you live there and you leave, it's over for you.
Yeah, that's how it feels. Meanwhile, Oliver quickly wins over the family's favor, all except for Farley, and his obsession with Felix grows. One night, he drinks his bath water, post secretly watching Felix masturbating in the tub, going as far as to tongue the drain. Did you feel queasy?
No, not queasy. I'm just like, that's so unsanitary.
Yeah. Drinks are gross. I would...
Yeah, that drain, the fluids involved.
Well, yeah, that was bad enough too. But drains are nasty.
Yeah,
like think of all that hair and.
It's gross.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, his obsession is pretty deep to go that far.
Yeah, and he's like on his knees, like licking the tub.
I was like half convinced Felix was gonna walk in and be like, bro, what are you doing?
You need to go now. This is not good.
Yeah, and it's funny because like this is gross, but like something gross also happens soon. Yeah, so it's like, oh, that's not even it.
Yeah, there's plenty to go around.
Fun.
Pretty much right after, it's like another night, he notices Felix's sister, Venetia, waiting outside his window. He confronts her on her eating disorder. So, like, this is something that's, like, talked amongst, like, the other family members and the mom. Like, they just talk about her being, like, a sexual masochist and, like, a binge eating disorder just an eating disorder. And telling her, you'll eat because I say so, and you're going to do everything I say now. Yeah.
This is the scene that he like completely changes.
Yeah, he's a completely different dude.
I'm like, what is happening?
Like this confidence and stuff like that. Like all of a sudden, like I'm a vampire. I'm a. I won't even say it.
and then when he said he's a vampire, I was like, is he though? Like, is he actually though? Because like again,
what a twist.
I was convinced like something supernatural was going to happen.
Yeah,
I was like,
sure.
No, he's just sicko.
Yeah, just a weirdo. Yeah. So he tells her all this while he goes down on her while she's on her period and like putting in his mouth, putting in her mouth. They're like having a time.
There's blood, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of it. Farley sees them outside, then notifies Felix the next day, who is furious and confronts Oliver, but he claims nothing happened. Something definitely happened.
Yeah, we saw it.
Yeah.
And then again, back to the doppelganger. Nick and I were like, was that his doppelganger doing it? Like, does everyone have...
Oh, that would be an interesting thing.
Because with this whole...
That would have been a good twist, honestly.
Because with this whole change in personality, we were like convinced for a second everyone has like a doppelganger in Saltburn. Oh. And then the reason they never cross paths is because people get lost and stuff. So we're like, was that Oliver's secret doppelganger doing that?
Maybe. Wow, that would be so crazy if it was actually that. Like, and then all of a sudden he has, well, you know, the ending happens and it's all because of this doppelganger.
Yeah, that's what I was convinced for a second, but you know.
No, he's just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So Farley sees them outside because like all of this takes place outside. A bunch of this fornicating takes place outside where they have huge windows and you could just look out and see people all the time. Then he tells Felix the next day, who is furious and confronts Oliver, but he claims nothing happened. He claims that he was being polite, that she just like kissed him when she was drunk, and he was just like, yeah, I didn't want to be mean to her. She probably doesn't even remember. And that evening, Oliver engages with Farley sexually while threatening him, and this is kind of forced, I would say. Like he just like crawls on top of him and he's like, we are doing this right now.
Yeah, it's not consensual, at least at first. Unclear if Farley is into it at any point.
No, I feel like it wasn't, but it was like, well, it's happening kind of thing.
Which is not great,
no,
obviously.
No, I mean, also he is threatening him and telling him like, you'll behave and stuff like that. So you're like, I guess, like,
okay,
like he does try to say like no at first, and he wasn't gonna take no for an answer.
Yeah, so this is the type of person we're dealing with now, Oliver. Like, sir, you need to leave.
Yeah, you are not safe.
No, not at all.
No one is safe. The next day, James has Farley escorted from the premises after receiving a report from Sotheby's about his intention to sell some of James' valuables. So he just like receives a random email or something saying that Farley is trying to sell plates or very expensive plates or something.
I actually completely missed what he got kicked out for. A, because I didn't understand what they were saying. And I was just like, well, it doesn't matter. He got kicked out for some reason. So I for the longest time, I had no idea why he was being kicked out. But I'm like, well, it's not that important. So
yeah, he's not. He's basically there just to point out like that he sees Oliver as he is, not as how the family envisions him. Like they think he's like just this nice friend of Felix's that's very perceptive and intuitive and he puts on the show for them, but not really for Farley, at least in his mind. And Farley sees it as he's a big old creep. And which fair.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as he should. That is a correct assessment of Oliver's character.
Yeah, but Farley also has this weird backstory too. I guess his mom must be like the father's sister or somehow has a drug issue or something, and she's sort of being supported by Felix's father, and also Felix's father is supporting Farley going to school, basically.
To be honest, I also checked out during that. I'm like, he's somehow related and being supported by them. So
yeah, basically. That's all you really need to know. He's somehow being financially looked after the Cadden family. As the end of summer nears, Elspeth and James plan a birthday party for Oliver, and Felix takes him on a surprise visit to see his estranged mother so they can make amends. Oliver panics when he realizes where they're going because his father is clearly alive, and his whole sad story about being an only child with two drug-addicted parents was really a lie. And Felix is trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, like driving up. He's like, oh, he's so nice. She must have gotten her stuff together. She's so good. You know, like, it'll be great. You guys can reconcile. Yeah, and then he's like, oh, man. Like,
yeah. Oliver completely lied. His parents seem lovely. Have a lovely home.
He's lying that he doesn't have sisters as well, like apparently, and
yeah,
that he's on the row team. All kinds of weird stuff. He's he's got his own set of lies that he's telling his parents, that he's like the #1 scholar or one of them in Oxford and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically anything that comes out of Oliver's mouth, you might just want to assume is a lie.
Yeah,
like his home life is completely different than what Felix
thought it was.
led to believe. So, this is the most one of the most uncomfortable scenes outside of even the bathtub and the vampire scene. I'm like, I can't watch this right now. I need to leave. I'm like, goodbye.
And the fact that Felix just like politely sits there and he's like, yeah, that's our Oliver. And just like, I don't know if I would have been able to like just sit through that. I would have been like, I'll just be going. Here's your son. He's a problem. Like,
yeah. Or if I were Oliver, I would just like, I'm leaving. I'm going to go jump off a bridge. Goodbye.
Yeah.
It was nice knowing you.
True.
Being caught in such a lie. Forget that, man.
Oh, the embarrassment. Like my cheeks would be red forever.
They'd be burned red.
Saltburn.
You're right.
Felix is upset, but allows Oliver to return to Saltburn for his birthday, sparing his family the humiliation of knowing that he lied to all of them, and instructs him to leave right after. At the party, Oliver is isolated as no one really knows him there. Like, they even are singing him happy birthday, but they don't remember his name. So it's just all their friends there to party for some reason to them.
Yeah, I was going to say, the family is definitely just looking for a reason to have a party. They're like, oh, it's your birthday. Let's definitely do a birthday party for you. And not because we want to have a party.
Right.
Like, guys, nobody knows who he is.
This kid is, yeah.
What are we doing?
Mm-hmm. And he sees Farley has been welcomed back to Saltburn as he tells Oliver this will always be his home. And he does like this whole speech about like, you may like jerk off to this later and how you wish that you could come back here. This will just be like a summer for you. This is where I live. Like I'll always be part of this family. You are gross.
This scene was kind of creepy though, honestly. Farley's costume. He had like the animal head.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
like looks at him weird and
it was threatening. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Farley's gonna kill Oliver, I think.
There's always like this weird tension, like it feels like they're about to fight. Like there's also like a karaoke scene at this party too. Or no, it must have been a different party. It was like some sort of dinner that they had early on. Rich people, they be having parties.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter when, it just happened.
Yeah, where Farley kind of like gives this karaoke mic to Oliver and he already like picked a song and it's something about like, I love you and you pay my rent kind of thing. I don't know the actual song, but Oliver's like embarrassed because it makes him look like he's just being needy.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why he's there.
Needy and poor.
Needy and poor.
And he's just here being poor and needy and poor some more and needy.
Yeah. Oliver finds Felix to confess his adoration, admitting he was just being what Felix wanted him to be, but he rejects Oliver and tells him to get help. The next morning, Felix is found dead in Saltburn's hedge maze. The family grieves but has lunch to try to pretend it's not really happening, where Oliver implies that Farley was supplying drugs at the party and could be responsible for Felix's death. And James like instantly turns on him. He's like, you can go, you're cut off, don't ever come back.
Mm-hmm. This scene is so awkward because they find the body and Venetia's crying and then the parents just seem, I don't know if they're in shock, but they're just like, okay, gotta go about our business. Like,
gotta have lunch. Yeah, like they're like clearly purposely ignoring it. Like even the help is trying to, like, you want us to close the blinds so you can pretend that the coroner's not coming by.
And tying back to the doppelganger scene because that's where they see his doppelganger. So that's why it's foreshadowing where the body's being brought through.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Felix is dead.
I know.
I was like, damn.
And Oliver is permitted to stay as Elspeth clings to him for emotional support, but still isn't considered part of the family as they bury Felix alone. Later on, Oliver cries over Felix's grave and has sex with the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow, there's no length that this kid will go to.
I mean, we could call it just dirt, or we could call it a grave, which is more...
Well, I mean, he was at the grave. He was on top of it crying on the grave, and then he's...
It's not just any old dirt.
No,
it's just the dirt.
He doesn't find a separate pile of dirt, and he's like, this is where I will do this.
This dirt is turning me on. Like, no, it's just the dirt above Felix's corpse. It's fine.
Yeah, like somebody else described it as masturbate. I don't think I could call it that. Like, it was... Like, he was, like, groping the dirt of the grave. Like,
this poor
his
dirt.
body was there.
This dirt did not consent, I don't think.
Like, is it narcolepsy?
Narcolepsy?
Narcolepsy, what's the word? What's the word?
Narcolepsy. I was actually about to ask you, and not being, like, stupid... Necrophilia.
Oh yeah, who's seen narcolepsy? Is when you fall asleep.
Yes. You better keep this in the episode.
No, I'm definitely taking that out.
No, that's so funny. Narcolepsy. We could name the episode Saltburn. Is it considered narcolepsy?
Oh god.
Oh god. Anyways, no.
You're correcting me so politely.
It's considered necrophilia? Like, not like, again, not...
I'm gonna ask, is it technically?
I mean, it's not doing it with the body, so I don't think so, but it's adjacent at the very least.
The act is so close, because it's right there. Like,
yeah, it's very disrespectful.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I was like, okay... And no one's around to see this happen either.
That's what I was waiting for, too, for, like, the sister or somebody to see him out the windows looking, like, doing all this shit to the grave. Like,
he doesn't get caught doing any of these weird things he's doing. Licking the water, having sexual relations with the dirt. Like, I don't know.
No one realizes how fucked up his obsession with Felix is.
It's bad.
Yeah. So he then goes and visits a depressed Venetia in the bath, who admits she sees him for what he really is, a mop always on the outside and ripping holes into everything. Oliver tries to seduce her, but she rejects him, braiding him for destroying her family. The next day, Venetia is found dead, having slit her wrist with razor blades in the bathtub.
Oh, so much blood.
I know.
I wasn't expecting that either. I'm like, wow. There's been no gore or anything up until this point, and it's like...
full of blood.
Everywhere.
Yeah. Also, like, super brazen, too, for... Well, we know what's happening now that we've seen the end. Are we going to just say...
I think it's fine. I'm sure people listening...
he's doing this.
Yeah.
Super brazen to kill one kid and then kill the other right after.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
technically...
not even a day or so between, right?
Well, he didn't kill her. He gave her the tool to... Yeah, give her a little nudge. Which, I mean, I guess technically you could probably consider that he did it. But you know what I mean. Didn't actually go up to her and start slashing her with the thing. But still, it's like, okay, like, again, you'd think people would... Okay, so Felix was an accident. Now she's dead. Okay, something funky's going on here.
I think the dad saw it as weird, at least, because like, right after... I don't know, it must have been like a few weeks later at this point. He's like, hey, you gonna keep staying here? Like, it's getting weird.
Can you go away?
Yeah. So James wants Oliver to leave to help Elspeth move on. At first, he refuses to leave her in this state, but James bribes him and he finally agrees.
Yeah, he's like, no, I'm not leaving.
And then he's like, how much? And he's like, what? He takes out a textbook and he's like, how much? And you could tell Oliver's like, well,
you should not have to
say.
Yeah, you should not have to pay someone to leave your house.
Yeah.
Like,
you have servants and stuff too. Like, get them to take them out. Don't you have security?
Yeah, I was gonna say, even if you didn't have proper security, like the police, file a restraining order. Like, if you really wanted him gone, you could have gotten him out of here.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Just saying.
I think it's weird too that like this is his best way of avoiding the family at this point. Because so in 2022, so it's been like what 15 years almost. Oliver reads in the paper about James Catton's death. So I was surprised that he didn't do anything to James to like help that along or something. I didn't realize too that we were starting in 2006. I thought it was just like maybe a few years, but
oh really?
Not like over a decade.
Nah, he was in it for the long game. He was like, I'll wait. Yeah. I'll just wait. It's fine. But
I got a plan. I got a concept of a plan.
He had no problem killing the children. But he's like, you know what, James?
Why rush?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he sees Elspeth in a cafe shortly after. She's happy to see him and asks him to return to Saltburn with her. After several months, Elspeth has become terminally ill. Shocker.
Wait, what?
No one saw this coming. In a coma-like state on a ventilator, Oliver confides in her that he was responsible for all that went on in Saltburn. He orchestrated the meeting with Felix, putting a tack in the wheel of his bike at Oxford, and poisoned his drink the night of Oliver's birthday party. He encouraged Venetia's suicide by placing razors beside the bath. He even planned the chance encounter with Elspeth at the cafe, ensuring she bequeathed all their assets, even Saltburn, to him. Oliver then forcefully rips out Elspeth's life support, killing her, now fully claiming Saltburn and the Catton family's fortune. He dances around the estate naked and victorious.
This whole ending, I'm like, man.
Full Wang, too. So much Wang.
Oh, so much Wang. Yeah, there is quite a bit at the end.
A lot of bounce. Like, a lot of bounce to that.
Very springy. It's ready to go. But this, I don't know. We talked about it at the beginning. This whole ending, I'm like, yeah, I know. But I don't know. I feel like this was just a little heavy-handed.
Yeah, the extra.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. I think
all this, like,
I think it was interesting because throughout the movie, you see that he's talking to somebody. I think it was kind of interesting to find out he was talking to
Elspeth of all people.
Yeah, her body just laying there. And I will say, him ripping out that life support out of her throat, I was like,
super aggressive. Yeah.
Oh, it hurts just to look at. So, and then also like, okay, now she's dead. Are people not going to have questions about how she died in the house?
I mean, they already wrote out the will that he would get everything at this
point. But if people find out he killed her, like, he's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, how are you going to explain that? You, like...
It's so weird. Also, did you hear of this, like, I think it's a scene that's cut, too, that he gets breakfast after everyone's died, and he gets the eggs that he asked for in the very beginning that come wrong. Like, he purposely get it wrong because they don't like him. It's like he doesn't fit in kind of thing. That when he gets Saltburn, he does this basically again. He asks for eggs. Like he wants them and he doesn't get them because he still doesn't really belong there.
Well, you know what? I read something opposite. I read that he got the eggs he asked for, but he was manipulating them to make it think like they messed up.
Oh, really? I need to find the deleted scene to reference it, I guess. But
yeah, maybe I read something wrong, but like I read that he asked for the eggs and he got the eggs he asked for. Like those were correct, but he's like, oh, these aren't right.
So maybe like either way, he was going to be like, this isn't good enough for me. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Entertains him.
From what I was reading, they were saying he was just trying to like get under their skin and like manipulate them. Like kind of like gaslighting a little bit. Like these aren't the eggs I asked for, and they actually like were. Like those were the eggs you wanted. So I don't know.
Huh, interesting. Did you also see the little rocks that he had? He collected everyone's death rock. And he was just like, oh, what nice little trinkets for me.
My question I was going to ask you. So he said he loved Felix, but not necessarily in love. So did he ever, like, I don't know. It just seemed so weird. Like you didn't love him in any way, I don't think. You know?
Had to destroy his whole family. Yeah.
Right? Like that doesn't sound right. Like, what do you mean? I think like he was interested, maybe just I think he was like infatuated with his life.
Yeah,
not
love the
him.
idea of being him, I think would be the word, but I don't know. I think there's also him repressing it, not saying like, oh no, I'm not in love with him. That's gross kind of thing. Like, I don't know, but
I don't think he was capable of being in love with him, honestly.
For anyone, honestly.
Yeah, I think he's a little.
Yeah. I also thought too, it was so presumptuous, like down to the whole, like him setting up Felix's bike to ensure that they would meet and all of this stuff in hopes that he would take him to his family's estate. Like, did he read up about the family and figure out they had this huge estate? Like, what was the chance that, you know, Felix just took him to a modest sized house and
Yeah.
like, yeah, we also go to Oxford, but it's not, we're not rich, you know?
Yeah, I think Felix was pretty well known around, so I think he probably just knew of him and it was like, you. Yeah, he picked him up. Yeah, kind of. I think that was.
But also, I don't know. Like the obsession and the love thing, I feel like if he was actually going to be like, I'm so obsessed with you, I want to be you, he would have like worn his clothes and tried to be like the replacement in the family rather than just like, I'm going to kill everybody. So then it's all mine. And then
I think it's like a different take. Like not necessarily wanted to be Felix, but wanted Felix's life circumstances.
Yeah.
Like, I want your house, bitch. Like, you know?
But he also like looks down on them too, because he tells Elspeth, he compares them all to spoiled dogs, like spoiled fat dogs with their bellies up or something like that. Like he thinks that they're weak because they're so privileged that they don't have anything to fear. So, but then he's turning himself into them. So.
Yeah, it's probably like a difference of becoming rich, like rags to riches, or being born rich. You know what I'm saying?
I had to work to do this.
Yeah. So he's like, I now deserve this because I worked for it, whereas you just had it handed to you.
Yeah, I guess so.
Who knows what was going through his head? He was just killing people. So I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I didn't see it happening like that there would be that many deaths that he would have a hand in. Like I thought maybe like Felix would be like, he'd just go too far and everybody else would just be like, yeah, it's suspicious, but did you do it kind of thing? And then I don't know, he would try to weasel his way back into the family. I didn't think he'd like annihilate this whole family for this house.
Yeah. Well, he did. So good like, for him, I guess.
I got it. Hold my beer. Ready to rate some scenes?
Yes. So while none of the scenes were super scary per se, I mentioned it already, but when Oliver was caught in his lie, it was not scary, but it made me so uncomfortable that I wanted to like turn off the movie or walk out of the room. So that just spiked my anxiety so much. I don't know about you, but it was just like, I
swear, I think I just sat by myself and I was like, awkward. And I kept on like saying awkward to myself like a couple of times. I was like, oh, awkward.
Yeah. So it's not a scary scene, but the way it's filmed and everything, it just makes you completely uncomfortable. So that is just a scene that stuck out to me as far as like the way it made me feel. So that definitely went towards my overall ranking for the movie.
Right. And you're also waiting for like the other shoe to drop for Felix to be like, you know, he said you're dead.
Right. Like he could have outed him.
All drug addicts and you're dead. Like.
But at least he didn't. So, I mean, that was good. Although he probably should have. He should have.
Yes. Yikes. But who knows what his parents are up to, honestly, after this, all of this happened. Maybe he killed them, too. He was like, well, I don't fucking need you.
Yeah, honestly.
Saltburn in 15 years.
Oh, man.
I would say one of the shocking scenes, I guess, is the reveal, his hand. Like, we knew where it was going, but like to see him like placing the razors and stuff at Venetia's bathtub and her like sitting there in all the blood and him poisoning Felix's drink. Especially also like the Elsbeth like pulling out the ventilator thing. That was real aggressive.
Yeah, it was like starting a lawnmower. He was like, ring.
Yeah, like yanked it out of there.
Yeah, that definitely was an uncomfortable watch. He's also like straddling her when he's doing this.
The thing why I also mentioned in the notes where scenes I wanted to talk about is Oliver rapes everyone just a little bit. Like,
yeah,
enough where you're like, oh, that wouldn't be a consenting thing that would happen. Everyone looks like they're forced to be this close to you now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's like at least 3 scenes in and of itself, right? Wait, we could count. He doesn't really do anything to Felix, right? But he does Farley.
To his body after.
Well, after,
with the grave after. He's sort of, when he tries to confess his feelings, like, I was just trying to like please you or something. He is like this close to him, though.
Yeah, that's just a personal space.
Yeah, right, we won't count that one then. But with Venetia, you could say that she wasn't trying to do anything. She was just, I don't know, curious about him, maybe. But I don't know. I think she sort of wanted something to happen between them.
I don't know. Again, she was like, I'm on my period, so I don't know that she...
Yeah, she did say no. Okay, never mind. So she said it wasn't that time of the month.
Yeah.
So that was a technically no.
Mm-hmm.
Then Farley. Then Elspeth couldn't consent to her being straddled like that. So yeah,
that's like 4.
3.
That's 4 points, man. Like, Oliver, bad. So it's like
on somebody else's body part. Well, like mainly your own, I guess.
no. The thing is, nobody else's body part. Only your body part.
Hey, don't touch me there. You just need
no square. Yeah. And the last thing for me, we already kind of talked about, is initially just the whole doppelganger part. Like, that made it seem like it was going to go in a more creepy direction than it ever actually did. So that scene isolated is creepy to me. Yeah. Because it just happens. They don't like bring attention to it. So that creeped me out at first, but ultimately, obviously, it doesn't really go anywhere outside of Felix dies and his body is passed through the same area. So again, in and of itself, the scene is creepy, but not like in context of what happens the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Well, there's also the mirror too. He breaks this mirror, and I don't know. It's probably just because like he hates himself as much as other people hate him in a sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of duality throughout it that I feel like too, if you go back and watch the windows when he's dancing through the house, you could probably glimpse him as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Better.
Yeah.
Or maybe other members of the family.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. So how did you rate the movie overall on our scariness scale?
I guess I would give it a 5, just out of like the overall darkness of his intentions and what all transpires there, like
mm-hmm.
like until like the last like 15 minutes of the movie, I guess you could say that this could just all be like an accident, I guess. Because like if you like, in a way he is doing this, like he has something to do with it. But if they would have cut that like final reveal, you would probably still think he probably had something to do with it, but you could still argue that maybe it was all accidental.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think you could make an argument like, hey, I didn't do nothing. Like, right. It didn't explicitly show anything. And again, so outside of, well, no, he does actively kill Felix because he gives him the poison. Venetia, he gives her the razors. And then the father just dies. Like, that's had allegedly nothing to do with Oliver. If it did, we don't know.
Yeah.
And then whatever illness Elspeth got, like, know nothing about that.
Yeah. I mean, I assume he did something to her to make her ill, terminally ill, but not ill enough that she would pass away right away.
Mm-hmm.
She could sign over everything to him.
Yeah. I'd be curious what the illness he gave her. You know what I'm saying? Like, what happened? But
because she doesn't seem sick when she first sees him again.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, in any case, he rips out her life support, so that definitely killed her.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Oh, also, yeah, you could argue to the police too. Like, did he kill her in like an act of mercy kind of thing? Or, like that's probably what they would suspect. Not really that's what he did, but like that's how the police would see it.
I don't think so. I just decided I was just
later because she was ready.
Yeah, they're like, how kind of you. I don't think that would fly, but what do I know?
I mean, I'm not saying that that's what was really intended, but I don't know how he covered that up to the police.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Maybe he just went like straight from like her deathbed, like she's dead now, to like Nikki.
To Nikki, I think so.
Nikki running around.
That was like right after he was done.
Well, he did have her rock, so I guess they did bury her. Oh yeah, they did show her being buried because she was next to all the other tombstones.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they did.
So he waited. He waited to be Nikki.
Yeah, and then he did it, and then it was fine.
An appropriate amount of time to be Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say 5. How about you?
I would say 4. I'll give it a 4 too. I don't think I feel like Flowers in the Attic honestly had more egregious stuff, like abusing children and stuff like that. There's murder involved. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's on par. I feel like Saltburn had some levity to it, at least. There was some like funnier moments.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Saltburn was just more generally uncomfortable. Whereas like Flowers in the Attic was like more terror, I would say. Saltburn was just uncomfy, honestly, and I'm just like, I don't want to watch this anymore. Yeah,
I will say the actor that plays Oliver, Barry Keoghan.
I think it's Keoghan. Mm-hmm.
Either way, I saw him in Killing of a Sacred Deer like years ago, and like I know some people find him attractive, but there's just no way I cannot see him as some creepy weirdo based on all the movies I've seen him in.
Oh, okay. I did not see that movie, so I don't know anything about that.
Same idea, basically. Well,
same idea. It's Saltburn Part 1. I mean, yes, that came before this.
Not necessarily, but he is just as weird and creepy as in this. Like, yeah.
Oh, well, he's typecasted. Great. I'm sure he's happy about that.
It's just like, I love playing a lunatic, apparently.
I mean, who wouldn't, right?
Yeah. Fun villain era.
Villain era. Oh, no. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show and listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, giving us a 5-star rating is super helpful. We always appreciate that. And we're also on YouTube. You can subscribe to us and leave comments on some movies you want us to watch.
Yes. And you can find us on social media at 13 Degrees of Screams.
This has been 13 Degrees of Screams, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.